It's important to remember that what's happening in America right now is not just happening in America. It is happening around the world, or around a slice of the world, specifically in European countries and in countries in which the majority of the population has historically been of European descent. That's where it's happening, and those are the only places it's happening, and it's all the same. Now, why? We're not sure. Lots of guesses on that. But what we can observe is very obvious. In all of those countries, the population is being changed dramatically by immigration. All of the economies of those countries are moving from manufacturing, or have moved, to some sort of weird neoliberal finance economy, which is not a strong economy. And in every one of those countries, the history of the people who live there is being erased. And we say all those countries, we mean all of them, and that would include small but fairly influential Ireland, the island off Great Britain. In Ireland, everything we just said has happened. And now a new thing is happening. Forces of neoliberalism are trying to change the country's constitution, a specific chunk of language. They want to change the way that women are described in the Constitution because they call the language misogynistic. So they're going to liberate more women in Ireland. Get ready for slavery, because that's what that usually means. So we're going to read the language that they want to replace right now. We want to warn you, this could shock you. Here's what the Irish Constitution says as of right now. Quote, "The state recognizes that by her life within the home, the woman gives to the state a support without which the common good cannot be achieved. The state shall therefore endeavor to ensure that mothers shall not be obliged by economic necessity to engage in labor to the neglect of their duties in the home." Now, depending upon how you look at that, that is the most female-affirming possible language ever written. We recognize, in other words, that giving birth to life, continuing the species, and making sure that life grows into decent adulthood, in other words, being a mother, is important. In fact, maybe the most important thing. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is, get back to your cube at Citibank. Freeze your eggs if you want kids. That's the neoliberal view. And in that view, it is deeply offensive to acknowledge that women have an important role in society outside of, say, the HR department or in some sales job. So on Friday, International Women's Day, the people of Ireland are going to vote on this. The vote will ask them, should we get rid of these words describing motherhood as important? Well, Laoise de Brún is paying attention to this. She's a lawyer, barrister in Ireland, and she's leading the fight against the effort to eliminate this language. Why is it important? She joins us now from Dublin to explain. Laoise de Brún, thank you so much for coming on. So this is not an argument that we would have in the United States because we don't have any such language in our founding documents. So if you would, for a non-Irish audience, tell us why you think this matters and what's at stake.
Well, as you quite rightly said, when you read the Article 41.2 holistically, it's actually a bulwark against the worst excesses of neoliberalism and those values, corporate capitalism, which essentially says there's no value to mothering or motherhood, that it is replaceable, disposable, and the only real value is getting out there and working and producing for the GDP. And we see that, in fact, this created a protective legal framework for mothers, particularly stay-at-home mothers. But before we kind of delve into the legal framework, I think it's important to have a conversation for a moment about what motherhood is. You know, motherhood is a biological function. It's not fatherhood. A mother is not parent number one or carer number one, but that's what the new wording is trying to achieve. It's trying to conflate motherhood with parenting, with caring. And it's a devaluing and a debasing of what motherhood is. I mean, we know that the most fundamental marker of success and stability in life is secure attachment between a mother and their child. And in clinical terms, the mother-baby dyad, it's described as the same biological and social unit. And that's because their heartbeat and their breathing rates will regulate even their brain waves. And science has just, confirmed this idea that how the mother can really be in sync with the child emotionally and offer that responsive emotional attachment, because they have discovered this concept called microfetal chimerism, whereby there's an exchange of cells, and those stem cells of that baby, no matter how long that baby was carried by that mother, will stay in the mother's body long term. So, and I must say, the opposite is true in terms of maternal attachment. As a criminal barrister, I read psychological reports all the time that sadly, of defendants that talk about the mother being absent, the mother dying, sadly, the mother, maternal suicide. So it is in the interest of society to do everything in its power to empower and enable that mother-baby secure bond. And with this new wording, it's doing the opposite, because it will actually reduce motherhood to simply caring, and mothering is not caring. If you look also at the actual wording, it's reducing an obligation on the state to ensure that women are not forced out of the home through economic necessity. And so really what it's saying is that if you want to stay at home with your children, and women are rarely asked if they do want to. An official state-funded feminism across the Anglosphere tells them that if they want to do that, that's sort of beneath them. They shouldn't relegate themselves to this role. But when they are asked, actually, 7 out of 10 women in Ireland would much rather be at home with their small children. And when children are asked, only 1% would rather go to creche. But this doesn't suit the new agenda, the new paradigm. As you quite rightly said, it is about neoliberalism. It's a corporate capitalist agenda, but it's dressed up in the language of feminism, of progressivism. It is not progressive to strip constitutional protections from mothers and from women.
Free speech is bigger than any one person or any one organization. Societies are defined by what they will not permit. What we're watching is the total inversion of virtue.